I'm Leslie Short, owner of the Cavu Group and the host of Visibility Unlimited Spotlight, our video alternative to our podcast, Visibility Unlimited. Please welcome my guests today, Elena Romero and Tiffany Ellzy. Elena is a professor in marketing and communications as well as a journalist. And Tiffany is a marketing guru executive. And I am so excited to have the two of you join me today. So thank you both.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So we all know each other, which is great because then we can just have real conversation. And our topic is going to be, do companies, organization, brands, because everyone wants to call themselves something different, do they have a responsibility in 2021 with social justice and racial justice? Now, social justice is different than racial justice. So I just want to break it down for those that may not understand why I broke it down. Social justice may be food, air, it's climate, it is racial justice, housing, infrastructure, social justice. Racial justice is not just black and white. It is Hispanic brothers and sisters, Muslim brothers and sisters, Asian. Racial justice. Okay, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'll go first, Elena, if you don't mind. Yes, I believe that companies have a responsibility. I believe companies have a responsibility to take a stance. As a consumer myself, I appreciate companies who are forthright and upfront about what they believe in. I believe in supporting companies that align with my standards as well as my belief system. I don't take offense to companies who are not on board with what I believe in, but I do support the ones that do. And I think that there is a responsibility for corporations, if anything, to have some kind of stance, because if they didn't, then you're not only not supporting your customer base, but you're also aligning yourself with not being equal and to everyone that does support your business. And I think it's important for a company to take some kind of stance and to have a voice.
Okay. Elena, before I jump in, Elena, your thoughts?
Well, in general, we've heard the term of corporations having social responsibility. And what that has traditionally meant has been giving back to the community, taking part of various philanthropic causes, and really providing really positive and social value. What we're finding is that more businesses are increasingly turning to more and more expanded definitions of what it means to be a corporation with social responsibility, which now means having to look at racial and social justice.
So that's great. So there are some companies that we know that are very clear. This is not our fight. This is not what we do. And so I think it does break down as you have companies that will be very clear. It's not what we do, but they have their foundations as the CSRs, the corporate social responsibility that they feel. I respect that.
Me too.
I respect that you did not try to jump in the racial game. And I hate to put it as a game because that's what it was looked like at some one point. I'm gonna put a black box up. I'm gonna do Juneteenth. I'm gonna hire this. I'm gonna do that, without any true commitment, alignment, or responsibility for having a voice within the racial justice point. Then you have everyone, and I won't get into the latest what I want to be Ben and Jerry's. I want to be Ben and Jerry's. And I know there's a lot going on with Ben and Jerry's right now, but what we can say is that they have stayed true to their social justice company that makes ice cream. So where is that fine line?
I do believe, and I think you started to touch on this, if you're not going to do it right and do it authentically and for the long term, then don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be in business.
Right.
But if you are, then you have to do it correctly. It's not something that you stick your toe in and you know what I mean, and not be really behind the cause. And that might mean bringing in new people that understand it. It means doing the research and really understanding if this is something that you want to get behind, because you're playing with lives here. You're playing with initiatives. You're playing with things that it don't look good for a corporation to come in and out. If you're going to do it right. If not, don't touch it.
Elaine and I have had conversation before, and it's about people, right? And
Mhm.
it's people's feelings and people's histories and what's in people's bag that they're bringing. And racial justice is not diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are kissing cousins. It's not the same. And I think you have to take the time to understand, if you're stepping in, what those differences are.
Correct.
You know,
And when you talk about people, you're not only talking about your end consumer that's helping your bottom line, but also those people who work for you. Because
Yeah.
it's equally, if not more important, to show face and to be your authentic company self to those and to those who are looking to buy into your product and into your brand.
absolutely. So if you are, like Tiffany said, if you're not going to be authentic with it, why are you trying to? Why are you trying to get on board? Here's why I heard some companies say they were going to get on board. Well, the other company did it. My colleagues did it, then so did I. But where's the investment? So you're hiring people. Okay, so everyone thought they were part of it because they jumped on the DEI point of it.
Right.
Very different than social justice. Very different. Now, if you have a foundation, I do believe that your corporate social responsibility, that whatever you choose that aligns with your brand and your company, and that's where you focus, no problem. I respect that. But how do we move now from it being a trend, which we're already starting to see,
Mhm.
that the trend is starting to fade a little bit?
Mhm.
Well, any thoughts on the commitment or their lack of some companies?
I mean,
You
I
know,
think
it's
you
not.
kind of
Oh, go
started
ahead,
it.
Larry.
I think you kind of started it. It's almost like building a home. Before you decide to put the windows and the doors, you need a strong foundation.
Hmm.
Right.
And from then you build that home up, right?
Right.
So what exactly will you be standing on? What is your foundation as a corporation,
Hmm.
as an organization, as it pertains to these particular moving parts? And I think they have to be honest in terms of the commitment, the
Hmm.
longevity, and are we just looking to make short attainable goals, or are we doing this for the long haul?
So
Whichever
have you?
you decide, you have
Okay,
to decide.
absolutely. So Tiff, I'm gonna let you jump in, but have you all heard about the one more pledge that that a bunch of companies took, and 49 of them have already fallen out?
Going
Come
on.
on now.
I read that because you know what? It's not a band-aid that you put over a sore. You have to treat the infection like anything else. And I think that companies, jumped on the bandwagon when the whole, especially as we're speaking to 2020, 21, the George Floyd situation happened. People jumped on the bandwagon. This is what I'm going to do. Then you realize, oh, there's a commitment that needs to ride with that through investing.
Do the work.
Right. Then it was like, oh, wait a minute, we might have reacted too fast and sent this press release out before we knew what had to go into it. It's not something that you just, again, put a band-aid over and it's done. You know what I mean? For as far as it pertains to racism, you're talking about years of damage that's done. Right. And now in a year, I'm gonna make it better. I'm gonna pledge $10,000 to an organization and we did our part. It's a little bit more than that. And the commitment and the investment needs to match.
And the end consumer also needs to stay vocal in terms of what matters to them and what they expect from the corporations. Otherwise, if they're just given a few crumbs and they're pleased with that, then there's no real need to do any real type of change or any kind of investment in this kind of work.
It's an investment and work. Those are the two words. And again, if you were just going to slide down the road and think that I'm going to hire some people here, again, then you're not. Then don't say you're part of social justice. Don't say you're part of the racial justice movement. say I'm going to look at diversity, equity, inclusion, but then, oh, wow, that's kind of hard too. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to sit over here. Because what are we doing? You know, at some point, a brand has to mean something. I'm not, don't be social. Don't say you're part of the game. Say this is where we stand. We treat people decently, whatever that is. That doesn't mean that you take a pledge to hire 25 Black people, 2 Hispanic, 15 disabled. Like it's just ridiculous what's happening. And then for everyone to start turning around and saying it's not working already.
Isn't that something that's not working? Haven't even put in enough time to see a ROI yet, but it's not working. But
Right.
that's when you know it's authentic versus someone that's just getting in the game. You know that it takes time before you start to see results.
And it's okay to, I think, ask for help. Now, no one's here to teach you how to do something, but if you are truly saying, I want to make sure that my company is aligned with expanding and growth, then you have to have someone come in and say, what does that look like, feel like, and sound like from your job post to your on interviewing, onboarding, and are you ready internally, whether it's 2 people or 55 people, to have different types of conversations in your office staff meeting.
And be open to the change in culture and what that exactly means.
Yes.
And you can't have commitment to an idea without accountability. And so that also has to be taken into account.
100%. If you don't have accountability, it's a wrap, because you have accountability to your stakeholders, accountability to the people that are working for you and with you, and accountability to your consumer. And everyone just looks just there. There's accountability to the vendors you start to work with, for your outreach, for who's shooting, for who is there. For diversity councils with 2 people is not a diversity council. What is your
I love that point, Elena. I love that point about accountability.
Yeah. Go ahead, Elena.
And diversity, as you mentioned, is not just hiring people or hosting events or sponsoring event. That's like the sugar on, that's the sugar coating. That's the cherry on top. We've got to have really the substance behind it. And again, it's going to look different for different people. In some cases, it might be, as you, to kind of coin your own words, Leslie, the low hanging fruit, doesn't have to be the big picture, super drastic change. Right. And in reality, let's be realistic. Change cannot occur overnight. As much as we think it's a cold turkey effect, right, it's a gradual process. And as we do that, you've got to make all parties comfortable with the idea with change. And that's a very tall task.
Yes. And to understand the purpose of the change. See, people like to do change and don't communicate. And then wondering why everybody's not following.
Right. One spoke is working, all the other spokes in the wheel don't even know what's going on.
They just kind of rolling along like, well, I guess this is where we're going.
Right.
So, I love to say, from the mailroom to the boardroom needs to have an understanding. They may not all agree, but an understanding where that shift is coming from. And I tell clients, don't worry about using the word change. People don't like change. Use the word shift. How you should, because change happens like flip.
Right.
We're not flipping.
And let's not sugarcoat it. We have to also address when there are individual people or parties that may feel threatened by the shift.
Yes.
Not everyone is going to be go lucky on board with that.
Absolutely. And to understand that if you're just bringing in, hire Black people, hire this one, hire that one. I'm sorry. I'm a believer that if you are hiring anyone, you need to be ensured that your culture, your understanding, that there is inclusive, that your policies are set and prepared for people of color, for the Crown Act, for holidays, religious holidays and observance. There is so much more than just bringing someone in and saying, here's your desk, good luck. You know, who's reporting to who? How can I get promoted? What is the process and procedure for my time here?
Yeah, getting people in the door is one thing. Keeping them there and making them feel like they've made a great decision, that you're invested in them, that they have longevity within the organization is something completely different.
Absolutely. And be honest, if there's a point where unfortunately these positions in the past have gone here, so that you understand I may or may not be able to go somewhere else. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to do the best that I can at the time and place. No one wants to do that because they're like, well, we invested money in them, but you didn't invest time for growth in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. And it costs more money to keep hiring people than to invest in retention of good people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're in the interview process and you're like, we're a social justice company or we're not a social justice company, but we have this, it's okay for someone that's sitting in the interview to ask, what does this? What is the essence of this?
Right.
Because otherwise it's a lot of window dressing.
You know what's funny, and you just made me think about it. Even on the reverse side, that whole cookie cutter approach to social justice, racial justice, everything. I had a situation with me this year in my company around Juneteenth, right? I'm like, I don't know. I never celebrated Juneteenth. I have to research it. And my coworkers looked at me like, you don't know what Juneteenth is? I was like, no, I don't. And I really didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I've never celebrated it. As I researched it, I understood, where it came from, how it evolved in that sense. But that cookie cutter approach to everyone understands the same thing. I'm gonna put this person here. I'm gonna put that. Like I would have failed that test.
I would have failed with you.
Test.
And I said it clearly. I'm a bad black person. I've
Right.
never celebrated Juneteenth. I did the research as well because I moderated a panel and I was moderating with professors and all this other stuff. So I really had to do my research. Like I knew about it, but I had to learn.
I had to learn, and it was funny because we were talking about, we were planning, and the question was like, well, Tiffany, what are we doing for Juneteenth? I'm like, what is Juneteenth? Because you know that this year in particular, everything was Juneteenth. So I got on the phone with a friend of mine, actually from Galveston, Texas.
Oh, you didn't call me?
I'm like, I never celebrated Juneteenth, and he was like, remember when we got to school, and me and Roger. He was like, we were looking at y'all like, y'all don't celebrate Juneteenth? I was like, I don't remember. He said, we were here in New York, like, that's crazy. Because for them, it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. But when they got to New York and we were in school, at that point, they were like, y'all don't celebrate Juneteenth? I was like, never heard of it. And years later, still there, I'm like, no, I don't remember that. He was like, yeah, it was like, y'all don't celebrate? Because it's parades, it's barbecues, it's cookouts in Texas.
Right.
But I didn't, I wasn't engaged with it. But it was so funny because I was like, let me do some research. And the looks I was getting was like, you don't know? And I'm like, no, I don't. I had another coworker. I was like, you celebrate? And he was like, never celebrated it.
Because we're not monolithic. Exactly. And it goes back, Elena, we've had this also conversation about Latina, Hispanic, Cuban. We can't just be put in a box because who's in a box?
Exactly.
And I always say to everyone, just because that's a label that you've decided to place on me doesn't mean that's a label that I identify with.
Right.
And so we do need to have these conversations about the difference of social justice, the difference of corporate responsibility and how they reach out, as opposed to racial justice and what you're going to do in that space, as opposed to how you approach diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
3 different conversations.
It's not just the poster. It's not just a slogan. It's not just an ad campaign or PSA.
And it's not just February.
or right, right, and then or Hispanic,
Right.
Heritage Month or Pride Month. Like we have 365 days a year. Those with disabilities may still have disabilities. Those of us as Black are still going to be Black. Those that are Hispanic. There's something to say that with valid voices throughout the entire year. And so, therefore, if you are going to take the time to say you're going to invest, then you have to invest in understanding culture.
Right.
Look, I'm happy if they just invest in one. You want to go with equal pay? We could go with equal pay. I'm good with it. We could try to equal the playing field, but you're not going to be a jack of all trades. It's just not going to work. Not immediately. It takes quite a bit of manpower and planning and the right people to be able to do that. But at least pick one and run with it.
I love that, Elena. You don't have to be everything for everyone. Mm-hmm. But it comes back to, again, who are you as a brand? Who are you as a company? Who are you as an organization? And then take us, not only who are you on paper, right? Or on your walls, look around your office and then go, what is it that we can bring added value to? Now, added value doesn't always mean a check. Now, I know there's a lot of organizations that can be, Leslie, I'm going to need you to be quiet. We're going to need that check. And that is okay as well. But then be honest and authentic about that. That this is where we invest on a consistent basis.
And be honest with your place in history. I think so many of us have seen, in the political climate that we're in, where politicians are trying to sanitize history, corporations try to do the same. In some cases, it hasn't always been a positive story, but there's value in having learned from a mistake and from a shortcoming. And that's part of evolution. So it's important that while you are addressing new areas, that you're able to heal from your past. Otherwise, like the saying goes, you're going to be condemned to repeat it.
And ask, again, bring in people that can help guide you as you're moving out of your past so that you can recognize it and move forward. So that you build on it as opposed on trying to hide it. That was great, Elena.
It's good. It's okay not to know. I think we're all learning right now. Mm-hmm. We're all learning.
Yes. And that's true. Everyone's learning.
Mm-hmm.
What to say, how to say it, how to move, how much to say. There people are coming back with new voices because they've seen and been through a lot in this last 15, 18, however many months we've been at, home. There is a lot to consider with how brands take that responsibility of how they show up. How will you show up moving forward? That's a big thing. Any last closing words or thoughts that you would love for our brands and corporations to know about?
I'll leave it with just a short slogan: put care into your work. And I think if you've emphasized that human aspect, then you'll be guided in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, it's basically what I just said. It's okay not to learn, but when you don't know, bring in the people who do.
Absolutely. And I will say, if you are going to make a pledge that you're going to be part of social justice or racial justice or a DEI, I think you need to understand what that pledge means. I think you need to understand the work that will go into it. I need you to know whether you are built to be part of it. And then if not, it is okay to figure out a different type of way if you want to be involved. Ladies, amazing guests as always. You don't even know you will be recurring guests. That is a standing invite. I thank you both for joining. And to everyone watching and to everyone listening, continue to expand beyond your current culture. Thank you.